How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. We are back for part 2. Part 4 for Lionheart. This is Lionheart Canine. This is their part 4, but this is my part 2 of the review. If you haven't seen part 1, it'll be in the description below. They just made a bunch of really short little clips of a session working with this. It looks like a German short-haired pointer or a pointer, a hunting dog of some sort. I mean, just sitting there, looks very shut down, very nervous, white eyes and all that. So I'm not a fan of personally her style or method of training. But we're going to go into, the second part. I'm going to try and be a little calmer. I don't want to be, I don't mean to get all amped up and excited, but I just can't help it. But I'll try to be less less animated if you prefer that, unless you enjoy when I'm just being brutally honest. Again, nothing personal against this person, this woman or, whatnot. I don't agree with the way she's teaching, and I think she's lying, and I try to be a voice for the dog, because the dog cannot speak up against the nonsense that people spew. So if you want to support her, you want to support Lionheart, more power to you. Okay? Go subscribe, pay her, all that good stuff if you want to. If you want to support me, that is absolutely appreciated. But you certainly don't have to. Using all this footage under Fair Use Act for education, criticism, trying to give my point of view, and trying to give a voice to the dog. So we're going to get started for, Sunday School Dog Training Meetup at Sykesville, Maryland.
Like that. Again, it's just like with Marjorie, when her dog kept on getting up.
Okay, so it's not enough that she pulls up on the leash. She has to go over, grab the leash from her hand, and start popping. Not just pulling up, but popping aggressively. I think she had it just fine. I don't agree with the correction, first of all. But aren't you there to teach her to correct her own dog?
It's just like with Marjorie, when her dog kept on getting up. We're punishing for failure. We're not giving excuses.
Look at how that dog is cowering away from her. She just choked this dog. This is a choke chain. It is a chain collar. People call it a slip chain, a check chain. It is a choke chain. She aggressively pulled up on this dog, and not only pulling his front feet slightly off the ground, but jerked it a couple of times. And she wants to say, we're punishing for failure. You didn't even ask the dog to sit again. You didn't give him a cue. You didn't do anything. Completely unnecessary.
Because that's just information. No, I want you to sit. No, I want you to sit. No, I want you to sit. What I just did is I've told you to sit 16 times. Now I'm going to make you sit.
Okay. Look at how he's leaning away from her. So let me explain something here. If you have to tell your dog to sit 16 times, and she's trying to claim that this is communication, nonsense. If you have to tell your dog to sit 16 times and now you're going to make them, how about, as a human who understands that we put our dog, maybe you don't understand, but I'm going to tell you now. You need to understand, you put the dog, sorry, I'll stop moving the mouse. You put the dog in this position. You decided to drive out into this park. It looks like there's maybe, I don't know, it looks like a golf course almost, but there's, a person over there. You're in a public area. You have a dog that clearly does not understand or doesn't feel comfortable or doesn't have the patience to sit for a long period of time in a public area with other distractions. So that is a failure on your part, not the dog's. If the dog cannot sit, you have to tell them more than 3 times. Stop telling them. How about you learn from your mistakes? Don't put it on the dog to learn. Learn from your own mistakes and say, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be training here. Maybe this is too advanced for the dog. Maybe I'm not interacting or communicating in a way that this dog proves to understand. Meaning, if you can ask them to sit without touching them and they sit, they understand in this environment, in this situation. Just because she says sit doesn't mean that he's going to sit when she says sit. So if you have to tell him 16 times and you didn't tell him to sit. Every time you've ever done it, you've used the shock collar, or you've just basically hanged him. So if you have to tell him more than 3 times, stop telling him to sit. The environment is too distracting, or he's too nervous, or he doesn't understand.
Right? And again, all that pressure comes from the direct pressure of the leash, not the indirect pressure from the collar. Okay?
It's all
That means
pressure, lady. Just shut up.
go. That means don't go.
Okay, so this means go, which is like a whip on a horse. But yet, you're undeniably going to use it when a dog is walking by. I'm absolutely positive that she would use a shock to keep the dog in this position, to keep him from looking at another dog. Therefore, that would be a correction. Either way, it's always a correction. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. This shock means go, and this correction means stop. So no matter what, the dog is getting a correction. As much as you want to say it's not, then you're just a dummy. Or a liar, or ignorant.
I don't want to. No, you do what the human wants, not what you choose.
Oh, wow, great. Yeah, that's why he lives like a slave. A shut down dog. Look, let me tell you something, lady, and owner, and anybody else listening. A dog is a privilege, not a right. Stop acting entitled. Stop acting selfish. Stop abusing animals in the name of training. Stop being a spoiled, entitled brat thinking that the dog has to do what the human wants. You know, humans don't need dogs. Again, they are a privilege to have. They're a living being with emotions and emotional needs and physical needs and a state of mind of their own, and they have certain needs that need to be met. So much for being calm.
So, everything else, your e-collar's at the ready.
So she has,
Leash is in your right hand.
I don't know if
Then
she's
you do a
shocking him
tap.
with her.
And then every time you're feeling leash pressure, you're tapping until he moves back into.
Wait a minute, I thought the tap where the shock collar meant go. Now you're correcting him to get him to move back. See why I titled the first one confusing? Because she's confusing. She goes back and forth all the time. Yeah, so much for being calm. She doesn't even know how to use it consistently. Why is it that all these positive reinforcement trainers know how to use a shock collar or a prong collar more consistently than the people who promote them without us ever using it? And that's the dangerous thing. So you shock him to get him to move forward. But when he pulls, you're not going to use the leash. You're going to use the shock to get him to slow down, to stop pulling. That seems like a stop, not a go. But then, when he gets up from a sit, you want to correct him with the leash.
The heel zone. Okay? Carry on.
So I'm sure she
Keep
pressed the
going.
button to
Walk off.
shock him to get him to go.
Good. Beautiful. Turn around and come back. Tap
I'm
and
sure
go.
she shocked him there.
Tap, 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 tap.
Tap, 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 tap. See, I told you, when somebody walks by, to keep him, this dog is lip licking, by the way, to keep him from looking at something, she's correcting him by tap, 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 tap. I called it that, to keep him, as a leave it, without telling him anything. She could get his attention, she could call his name, but no, God forbid we do anything like that. As this woman said before, the Lionheart trainer woman person, I don't know what her name is, she said in the last video that she's going to let the e-collar do all the work. Well, that's just stupid. Because then you're letting a tool do all the work instead of you doing the work. You're going to rely on a tool as what you say communication when it's not communication because you're so confusing when you use it. The dog doesn't... It's learned helplessness. This is learned helplessness. That when you use it to go, but then you use it to stop, but then you use it to back up, but then you don't use it to correct, and you're going to hang the dog with a collar. It's just, oh my God, woman, you're all over the place.
Until he's in the zone, right? If you feel any leash pressure at all, you're tapping until leash pressure stops.
So then it means go and stop. Go and stop. Don't look at this, but sit. Do this and that. It means a million things. You're not being consistent.
Okay? Tell him
Tap, tap, tap.
Tell him sit.
He's shaking his head because it's getting irritating. The more you tap, the more continuously you tap, the more it starts to hurt, The pain or the burning sensation, and I know this from firsthand using it on myself, okay, so don't give me that nonsense. That it doesn't hurt, it's a tickle, it's a tap, none of that nonsense. He shakes his head because it's starting to irritate him more. So tap, 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 tap. She's been tapping this whole time. He's ignoring it. As you can see her fingers. We're going to go back and watch her hand.
Sit.
Sit. And then we have tap, 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 tap. And then hang up. She's been correcting him. And then the woman says both hands. She says, no, you got to hang your dog. He doesn't need both hands.
Right. And again, we're not just guiding him into the position.
That wasn't a guide. That was a correction to him. But no, she needs to... This woman over here really wants this dog to feel that collar with both hands, using your upper body strength to hang this dog.
Hanging him for refusal. This is a dog who
That's
knows
not
what
refusal. It is not a dog that knows what sit means. The dog has become reliant on the tool because you have taught him to be reliant on the tool. Okay, because you don't show him how to sit without the correction. Why should he sit? Because he doesn't get a good boy doesn't matter anyway. That's just squat. He doesn't get any reward for sitting anyway. So why the hell should he try it? He gets corrected for doing the right thing. He gets corrected for not doing the right thing. So why the hell should he, do sit? And he's not comfortable enough. She says, this is a dog that knows sit. I don't think so. He only knows it when you hang him. He thinks that's what means sit. Or when you shock him. When you said sit and you shocked repeatedly with your hand, we could see it. So after 10 times that means sit. After you hang him, that means sit. He's not ready for this. Like I said, when you have to tell him sit 16 times, it's not the dog. It is you as the human that doesn't understand that you are working too fast.
He's basically saying, I don't want my sensitive little butt on the macadam.
That is not what he is saying. And you are an absolute bully. And she had to use her two hands. He's not saying that at all. If he could say anything, my guess would be that he would love to get a million miles away from here. Of course he loves his person, but if he knew anything about a life without having to live like this, I'm sure he would love to. Right now he's saying, I'm confused. I am shut down. This is learned helplessness. And maybe, you know what? We don't know how hot it is on the pavement. He may be intact. He may have testicles that don't feel good to sit on this kind of pavement. A lot of dogs that are built like this, like Vizslas or Weimaraners or a lot of pointers, just don't seem to be comfortable sitting in this situation, putting weight on their hips. A lot of times they like to sit sideways, like their little foot kicked underneath them. I wouldn't want to sit naked ass on this asphalt. He's uncomfortable. And yet, you like this woman here already called him a pansy in the last video. So, she has no respect for him any more than this other lady does. And I have no respect for either of them. I have so much more respect for the dog. It's just so sad. And he's not refusing because he doesn't want to. He's likely refusing. I can't say 100%. But out of common sense, I'd say he's likely refusing because he's uncomfortable. When you put him in a sit, either physically or emotionally, when you force them into a sit, you make them vulnerable. You almost invite other dogs and people to come into their space. Dogs have a right to remove consent. Just because they're furry and cute and you can choke them and shock them doesn't mean that you can go touch them. Stop being so entitled, people.
All right, carry on.
So shock, 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 shock. She presses it multiple times, not just once. Multiple times.
All these great distractions. You got that shepherd.
You're working way too fast. Shock, 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 shock. I imagine.
Quite the
yank him around.
Tap and go. Don't yank, right?
Shaking his head because it's shock, 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 shock.
We have amassed quite the audience.
We can go. It just stops right here as he's shaking because she continues to hit the button while she's walking. I mean, look at these dogs. They're hot. We don't know what the temperature is. We don't know how long they've been out here. I don't see any water. Or these dogs don't have the ability to be in the shade. I mean, she's in a tank top and shorts. So I don't think it's going to be, like, super cold out. I mean, I don't know. I'm an Eskimo. I love to be in the cold. So I would be like this when it's 40 degrees out. But we don't know how hot it is with the pavement, with their bare feet and their bodies. It's just ridiculous. None of this impresses me. I think it's just a stupid waste of time and money, and nobody cares about what the dog wants. Well, I hear you, dog. I'm speaking up for you. I feel so bad that you have an owner like this and a teacher like this, and, you know, that's just how I feel. I feel so bad for this dog, but that's just my analysis of this. So, you know, thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. I mean, it's hard to enjoy, you know, watching learned helplessness, but I hope you can understand where I'm coming from and the point I'm trying to make. So that's it for this short one. There's plenty more reviews to go on. I'll be sprinkling some horsey ones and some doggy ones, and, you know, maybe some cute ones in there too. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. I appreciate all my supporters, all the wonderful comments. Say howdy do to your little ones from me. Please say hi to all your little critters. Give them some kind of loving or a kiss from me. And until next time, try to practice some positivity.